Welcome back again. Today is another red letter day, and here's why. The riggers have arrived. This next little segment, I'll show the riggers. It's not very interesting, but just to prove that they are here. They came and looked at the boat, and they took all the old rigging away to measure up and prepare for replacement. So within a couple of weeks, I should expect to have new rigging. How awesome is that? It's very awesome. While the riggers take the old rigging away and get new rigging ready to reinstall on the boat, I still have jobs to do. I need to work on the mast. I've got an antenna to install. I want to purchase some electronics, wind speed indicators, and that kind of technology. And I think I might paint the mast as well. I also need to replace the ready rod, the stainless steel ready rod in the bowsprit. I think I mentioned on a previous video that when I recreated the bowsprit, I put the two pieces of wood scabbed onto the side of the bowsprit to support the bowsprit platforms. And in doing so, I made it wider than the original. And therefore, I need longer ready rod through bolts. Now, you can't buy bolts that are 14 inches long, half-inch wide. So that's why I use ready rod. Sunny outside. It's not raining, which is a good thing. I have definitely run out of summertime, and so I need to utilize all the fair weather that I have to get these outside jobs done. So today I'm going to put on the rod that goes through the Samson posts and the butt end of the bowsprit, and then I'll tighten up all the nuts on the Samson posts and the bowsprit, and finally seal the holes around the Samson post because it has been raining and there's a fair amount of water down in the anchor locker again, which is not going to hurt the boat, but I want to get it sealed up. There's no sense in having damp on the inside after doing all this work. So let's get to it. Well, that's another job out of the way. fairly straightforward one. It's a matter of undoing some nuts, driving the ready rod through and putting the new ready rod in and putting new nuts on. It has been a learning experience though. What did I learn? Well, I sealed the anchor rollers with 4200, and the stuff is billed as being an adhesive. Boy, is it ever. That stuff is so tough. It gets on everything. And when it's on, it does not want to come off. I had to drive the halves of the anchor roller apart with a chisel just to get the ready rod out. Also learned something else. Let me show you. This is the old nuts that came off the anchor roller. And to look at them, they look fine. Not rusty, kind of a little aged maybe. But in order to get the old ready rod out, I spun these nuts back onto the ready rod just enough to get, 5 or 6 threads on, and then I hammered it, hit it with a framing hammer, a 24-ounce framing hammer. And that's what I came up with. One of the nuts I used actually shattered. It just came apart in about 3 different pieces. That, boys and girls, is crevice corrosion. You can't see it, right? It looks perfect. Then you give it a whack, and she shatters. I am so glad that I replaced all the stainless on this boat. All the structural stainless, anyway. And there's a nut that I didn't hit. See, looks fine. Yep, I could use that. You give it a good whack. That's what happens. So, of course, everything's worse at sea, and if anything can go wrong, it will. So I can imagine being out at sea and a wee bit of a storm blowing up and something like that giving way. The other thing I learned was when the rigger came and took the old rigging away to measure up and get it ready to be replaced, the bowsprit bobstay, it's heavier than the standing rigging on the whisker stays and on the shrouds. It's 5/8, I believe, and it had a swaged fitting on both ends. And I didn't think much of it. The swaged fitting was a little bit rusty. It looked actually quite a bit worse than these nuts. The rigger took one look at it and went, "Oh, that one's cracked." And I kind of startled a bit and went to have a look at what he was pointing at, and sure enough, the swaged fitting on that bobstay was cracked. So it would not have lasted for very much longer. If I had reused that bobstay and put a spinnaker up and a jib or a staysail up, that's 4200. It would have come apart, threatening the rest of the rig, which is a very unhappy thing to have happen at sea in a blow. So I am very, very glad that I replaced everything. Things are going according to plan. I'm way behind schedule. I had originally wanted to get the boat back in the water back in June, but things didn't work out, and then the rigger was on holidays and so on and so on. But that's just life. That's what happens in boat world. Things get pushed back, and fortunately, I'm not in a place where I have a deadline or I have to get it back in the water. So, the rigger said he'd have it ready possibly by mid-November, which means I've got to get all the other jobs that I need to get done. So I've got a little bit of a fire lit under my butt. But it's time for me to go home. The daylight's fading fast. Oh, it's a beautiful day out. And I'm going to have a good evening. And I'll be back soon. So as always, fair winds, following seas. God bless.